Sega.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the latest Total War Warhammer campaign walkthrough video. Today we'll be looking at the vampire counts and some of their unique game mechanics, technologies and battlefield units. So here we are, 112 turns into a campaign, and we've had some real commotion so far. After planting our flag firmly in Sylvania and dominating the surrounding vamp factions of Tempelhof and Schwarzhafen, we sort of accidentally went to war with the Greenskins. Pretty much every resource we had was poured into beating back the 4 Greenskin Doomstacks and assorted heroes that attacked Sylvania, and war making the strangest of bedfellows, we actually managed to tie up a defensive alliance with the Dwarfs as we had a major, highly aggressive mutual enemy. During that period, the Dwarfs also confederated with Zufbar, nearly doubling their settlement and army count. And despite the fact that our corrupted lands were causing the Dwarfs attrition, they chose to sally an army out of Zufbar to help us out in the defence of Waldenhof here. As you can see, the Dwarfs now form a solid buffer between us and the Greenskins, and they've been steadily rolling them south since, leaving us a period of relative calm in which to focus on expanding northward. We've taken the town of Essen from Ostermark, and we're now gearing up for an assault on Beckhafen. Now, it feels pretty crucial that we capture Beckhafen, as north of that point, the Warriors of Chaos and the Norskans have been unleashing all hell, with armies of the damned pouring out of the Chaos Wastes. They're putting the northern part of the old world to the torch and seeding the land with chaos corruption. So they're hidden by the Shroud at the moment, but there's Chaos Warrior and Norscan armies here seething westward, threatening the lands of the Empire. So we need to exploit this period of calm at our end of the map, in preparation for the coming of this guy, Archaon the Ever-Chosen. Now, his army is currently encamped, as is the one next to him, probably recruiting, and actually this one seems to be exuding some kind of tentacular effect, so whatever is in that army is likely to be very nasty. So yes, Beckhafen is the point at which we're aiming to draw our line in the sand and mount the stoutest defence we can muster. After that, hopefully we can beat the Warriors of Chaos back from whence they came. Now, if we look at our objectives, one of our key victory conditions is to bottle the hordes back up in the Chaos Wastes and ensure that Archaon himself is at least wounded. Now, that's going to take some work, some powerful armies and some clever military manoeuvring. Our short campaign objectives also require us to knock out the Empire, which is no mean feat in itself. If we wanted to play for the long objectives, however, we'd also have to take care of Bretonnia and tackle that increasingly vast dwarf empire. In terms of military might, we have a few armies in the mix, but less than we did have. After a recent and rather costly drive to max out our city development, we now have access to some of the highest tier units in the Vampire roster. Checking the building browser in our home city of Castle Drakenhof, you can see that we're now capable of recruiting Terrorgeists, Svargolfs and Hexwraiths. We're currently in the process of replacing our skeleton hordes with these much more powerful units provided by higher tier recruitment buildings, in effect trading quantity for quality. And as you might expect, our turn-by-turn army upkeep costs are therefore beginning to spiral. We're now in a situation where we really need to make some land grabs, and these northeastern human territories are our best hope for that. Recruitment for the Vamps is done in 2 ways. Like any race, you can of course recruit units from buildings that you've built in certain provinces. The second way is to raise the dead, and this is done instantly. You get them the turn that you raise them. Now, corpses are plentiful in the old world, and wherever your lords are, they'll be able to raise from a limited pool of low-tier zombies and skeletons, which will replenish over time. However, large battles with high death tallies tend to seed the ground with a surfeit of corpses, increasing the odds of higher level undead appearing in the pool, and once the dust of the conflict has settled, you'll get an epic battle site marker like this one. Assuming you've already unlocked access to higher tier unit types through your buildings already, and if the sheer number of corpses resulting from such a huge battle is high enough, you may be able to raise those elite units from the ground. Manfred here is next to one such battle site, and you can see that the number of dead generated in this battle must have been pretty high because he has access to a much wider range of units, including Crypt Ghouls and Black Knights. Now, this isn't just a convenient way to bolster your armies with better quality troops when you're far from home. It also gets you thinking about how to generate rich, non-civic recruitment zones on the map. Manoeuvre 2 powerful enemies into war with each other through some Machiavellian diplomacy, draw them into mass conflicts like this, and your armies can benefit from the plentiful dead. Heinrich Kemmler was the legendary lord we chose to begin this campaign with. Manfred only came on the scene recently, and here he is besieging Beckhafen. He's up to level 12 now, and we've put a lot of points into his Lore of Vampires spell chain. If we want to see how those spells look in combat, we can simply right-click them and get an animated view of the spell at work in the spell browser. On the character details panel here, you can manage the various magic items wielded by your lords and heroes. You can assign any items you've won to the currently selected character, though if an item is already assigned to someone else, you'll of course get a warning to inform you. Technology-wise, we're making good progress researching the 4 vampiric tomes. The Book of Archon here brings buffs to zombie and skeleton units, along with Graveguard and Black Knights. De Noiro's Blasphemous Bestiary brings improvements to various bestial units such as Fellbats, Direwolves and Vargheists. Master of the Swarm is actually an excellent early win, as it brings some much needed survivability to your otherwise unarmoured and slightly brittle Fellbats. The Lamian Book of Blood improves many campaign game aspects such as growth, diplomacy and the spread of vampiric corruption. Now, corruption is obviously a really important part of the Vampire Counts gameplay, and you can find plenty of detail on that in our recent Rally Point video. And finally, we're just beginning to make headway into the Liber Necronomica, which improves Crypt Ghouls and Horrors, Cairn Wraiths, Hex Wraiths, and reduces army attrition damage, which is super helpful when your armies are marching on uncorrupted or chaos-corrupted ground. We're currently researching Soulbinder in order to reduce the recruitment and upkeep costs of our newly available Hex Wraith cavalry, as they are expensive units, but as you'll see, there are some very good reasons for that. Among other fearsome high-tier undead units, Manfred is marching with some Hex Wraiths in tow, so let's take a closer look at them. While the physical stats of the Hex Wraiths don't look all that meaty in terms of raw numbers, it's their various traits which make them uniquely powerful. First off, they have super high physical resistance, making them all but immune to regular or non-magical damage. They also cause terror, which brings a major morale debuff to whoever they're fighting. But it's their attacks which are perhaps their most impressive aspect, as they do a combination of armour-piercing, flaming and magical damage, the latter ignoring the majority of regular armour and enabling Hexwraith to literally scythe their way through most unit types. In short, these are some of the best cavalry in the game, and that is reflected in their high upkeep cost. And Manfred is also fielding a Terrorgeist, and this really is the pinnacle of the Vampire Counts roster. A winged, terror-causing behemoth, it has poison attacks and does a staggering 280 points of armour-piercing damage. And as if that wasn't enough, it's also capable of regenerating hit points during the course of a battle. Being a desiccated bag of magically bound bones, however, it is somewhat susceptible to fire damage. So if you're facing one in battle, your flame spells will definitely have a priority target. Okay, we're going to leave Heinrich and the Vampire Counts there for now. Tune in again soon when we'll be taking a closer look at these terrifying high-tier undead units in battle.